Hey guys, it's Callous, back with more Callous Invitational 5 content. Here we have round 1 action as it has been between Hclat and PDC. Both of these players had a good run last year, went pretty deep, finished in the top third or so of the tournament. I think Hclat made top 6. So unfortunately they're paired against each other round 1, which is going to make it a lot harder to do that this year. But two very capable players and probably an exciting match here between two guys who kind of play their own way and probably have played against each other before on ladder. They are both big ladderers at various times. Let's get into it. Hclat's on the bottom, PDC's on the top. Flygon and Meta, respectively. Flygon not a super common lead, so I thought that was interesting. A lot of switching, nobody happy with the matchups. Here's a matchup I didn't think we're going to see too much of, probably still won't. We've got a Armaldo against a Regice, a battle of the BLs here. Like I said, probably not a matchup we're ever going to see again. There's an Ice Beam freeze, so Hclat off to a bad start with the RNG. He's got clearly a stall team here, this 4E Armaldo brew. But he's going to undo those hacks by getting his frozen T-Tar to be the target of the boom. Surprised PDC didn't anticipate that and go for mash, but I guess that's a results-based statement. But he really undid the good hacks that he gave himself by doing that. So now we have a much closer game. He does catch 4 with an HP Fire, though, and that lets him follow up with a Thunderbolt kill. For what seems to be a pretty stally team for Hclat, I mean, it has to be, right? This game's actually moving pretty quickly. Now, granted, it's certainly an offensive team from PDC. Got a couple of boomers going down to like an arrow, and then you've got your obligatory rock resist and the Swampert. Pretty aggressive team, it looks like. But the game's moving pretty quickly, given the slow pace that I would assume that Hclat's team wants to take it. There's a recover, maybe bracing to take a boom, but he goes Ice Beam again. Maybe he thought there'd be a switch, or certainly he can go for another freeze. Now Armaldo coming back. That's going to get T-waved on the way in. It was already slow as dirt, so the only thing that matters now is the potential of a full para. There's the Ice Beam, and Hidden Power probably bugged there, which with the sand is going to be good enough to get a kill. Leaves us in a 4-4, and they both still have an unrevealed poke. T-Tar going to try to focus punch, going to be nailed by the stab HP bug. Hclat with the outplay on that turn. PDC kicking himself. Now he goes Rock Slide, super effective to kill Armaldo. Leaves us in a 3-4 situation with the PDC lead, but they both still have the unrevealed in the back. Tar faster than Milo here, not always the case. Milo probably with little or zero speed investment if that is the case. Surf and Rock Slide respectively. Last poke shown for both. There's Hera, Megahorn, the ideal Megahorn switch in. Celebi comes in. Not 4x weak or anything. That's out of here. Leaves us in a 3-2. We're sub 20 turns here. This is moving pretty quickly for, like I said, such a stally team for Hclat. Earthquake coming down from Flygon, 40%. That's got to be CB damage or an off perp, but that is a ton of damage for a Flygon versus a Swampert. And it's not choice banded, so that is obviously not the world's bulkiest pert. Nevertheless, double edge and rock slide both happen. 2 double edges, not enough to kill the Flygon. It's going to be still standing, and it leaves us in a 2-2 situation. Heracross a major issue at this point. Outspeeds and KOs. Now it's against Milotic, which is a matchup that he should win 1v1 unless he were to get crit or frozen. Swords Dance anticipating recover is going to all but seal it. Hclat in trouble here, not going to be able to beat the Heracross. Megahorn doesn't kill, surprisingly, and he actually did have a chance to surf crit in there, and he actually, I think, wins if he surf crits, because then he outspeeds the pert probably, if it's not an off pert, and gets a recover off, but none of that is what happened. Crit didn't come. Heracross going to be the last man standing, if not for the concession of Hclat. PDC takes game 1 in this best of 3, but as you know, like I said just now, best of 3. So, not over. Let's get to game 2. Hclat bottom side, PDC top side. T-Tar and Zapdos lead respectively. BP to Metagross now, and there is a substitute from Hclat. So he's starting things off with a physical or a mixed Tar hiding behind a sub. Focus punch there, neutral damage to the meta, 42%, not bad. Going to go Focus Punch again. Meteor Mash going to connect after missing the first time, which is unlucky for PDC. And we'll see if the threat of the mash or the boom is going to prompt him out here. He does just go mash again, but he's missed 2 out of 3 mashes to start off this game. Not good for PDC. He's then outsped and killed. He is clearly behind in the early stages of this game too. Here's Zapdos now, and a Lax, so little boom spam offensive team from Hclat, the same thing that PDC brought in the previous game rather. Thunderbolt coming down and Body Slam respectively. Body Slam does a ton of damage, but it doesn't get the after effect para. There's Thunderbolt and Self-Destruct. Interesting. Body Slam would have killed, I think, without the Self-Destruct, but he goes for the safe play and just booms now, just in case. So, leaves us in a 5-4. PDC still behind from that early sequence that did not favor him with all those meteor mashes. And Hclat padding his lead here, not only getting the better end of a blow for blow, but also getting a para. PDC seemingly with no Zapdos switch is just going to let the Coon die. He now finds himself quickly in a 5-3 hole. These are very quick games. Not even a dozen turns in right now, and we already have 4 pokes dead between them. They trade status moves, T-Wave and Spore. Here's a Focus Punch. Gonna connect. 46% despite resistance. Breloom hits so hard. And gonna pull it back to Raikou, which is not a mon that I was expecting PDC to have on this team. But here it is. Raikou. Does Hclat have a good switch in for this? He's gonna Calm Mind here and get immediately roared out. Poor for PDC. Could have killed the Zapdos there, but obviously wasn't playing around Roar. Now Thunderbolt coming down and going to put him back to sleep. Sure, why not? The Raikou looks like it's going to be PDC's only hope. He's not going to sweep with a paralyzed Loom. And of course he does have a last poke that we haven't seen yet. Maybe that's a sweeper as well. But Raikou looking like his best bet in this game. There's Calm Mind, but T-Tar should be a big problem regardless unless he goes for a crit immediately, which is what he does, but he doesn't find it. Now Tar subs up. A lot of the time, physical subsets don't have Earthquake, though, so maybe he can survive here. Pops the sub. Here's Focus Punch. Does not survive that. I have no idea what the roll is, but down it goes from 76%, and that's going to be a pretty one-sided victory for Hclat to send us to a Game 3. Both these games real quick. This one's sub 20 turns. Don't know how long it took in real time, but here when I'm doing the replays, moving real fast. Will Game 3 be another slugfest, or will we see something longer and slower? Let's find out together. Here is the third and final game between Hclat and PDC to start out their tournament the right way in the winner's bracket. I already switched the sides for you. Continuity. Zapdos and Salamence lead respectively. Hclat again on the bottom. PDC again on the top. Magneton going to insta-catch a Scarm and eat it, but not before he gets one layer of spikes down, which unless it is a Magdoll team, he's going to have to live with for the rest of the game. So, spikes coming down for PDC as well. They both have a lair. No spinner shown from either guy as of this time. Swampert comes in. Swampert goes out. There's Bliss. Scout for the HP Grass. Doesn't find that. He finds Roar instead. Scarm comes down. Now protects just to see if he can find anything new, but he doesn't. It's just Roar. Here's a third Roar in a row, bringing the Blissey Black back out. She should feel very safe here. Obviously a bulky Zapdos to take the Ice Beam that well, and it is Roar yet again. There's no sand from either player, so every time the Zapdos roars stuff, he's gaining lefties. Toxic Miss for PDC, unlucky, but I don't think it's super relevant because I'm thinking this is a rest Zapdos. Like I said, it is obviously bulky, and it's almost back to full health after all this lefties. There's Roar, and that's going to prompt out the Salamence. Still don't know what, if any, hidden power the Zapdos has. He goes Thunderbolt here, however. That's certainly not HPI. It's interesting that he was willing to risk that. Now Ice Beam coming down for the Bliss. Roar yet again. A lot of scouting going on. Almost the full team revealed for PDC. Only one hidden poke in the back. Hclat's got half his team still hidden as the Zapdos continues to terrorize him and just roar over and over and over again. PDC does not seem to have an offensive threat to the Zapdos or anything that can even a little bit force it out. He again is going to scout for hidden power, but it's not going to be shown. The only two moves this whole time that it's shown are Thunderbolt and Roar. I think it has Rest, like I said, but even if I'm right about that, what is the last move? Could be Toxic, could be T-Wave, could be Sleep Talk, and it, of course, could be what PDC continues to play around, some kind of hidden power. Rock Slide finally is going to deter Hclat from staying in. Huge damage there. He gets a flinch, and he's going to do, what was it, 94%? 93%. Huge chunk. And Misdreavus from Hclat. Misdreavus with Psywave from Hclat. We are busting out the tech. Hclat has told me about this before. It sounds janky as hell to me. Didn't think he would actually bring it in CALLOUS Invitational, never mind in the Game 3. But here we are. He brought it. And it even got a KO with shitty Psywave, which, for those of you who don't know, and I don't blame you because it's like a total unmove, it does a random amount of damage within a range. So like it can literally sometimes do like 2. And other times it does more, but it seems absolutely awful, and it's not even 100% accurate. It just seems like a complete garbage move, but here we are. Nevertheless, to my great surprise, with the Misdreavus Psywave trash team, Hclat finds himself behind. It is 5-4 PDC advantage, and he still has that hidden poke in the back. Zapdos comes into an Ice Beam, wakes up Rest, as it must, back to full health, and Seismic Toss now. Blissey's got a few Ice Beams left, but PP could be a factor here. Salamence comes in at this point. Neither player, unless it's the last poke for PDC, has opted to bring Sand in this crucial game. This is obviously a choice band meant by the amount of damage. Hidden Power Flying is what he's got. And now the Flygon's going to go for Protect for lefties. May or may not live another. PDC shows the last poke. Neither guy has Sand, but he does have a Spinner. And it's double Ghost for Hclat. So ironically, if he were to try to Rapid Spin thinking that he's safe because of the Missy, he's actually not, because there's a Gengar as well. So the funky double Ghost Superman going on for Hclat here. Zapdos coming in. Ice Beam yet again. Let's see what we have here for PP. 11 it says, but it's way less than that because at least 3, maybe 4 of those have been against the Zapdos. So pressure is not counted on the displayed number. Gengar coming in against Salamence. That's got to be what he wanted. That should force the Mence out. CB Mence will not live in Ice Punch. Hclat doubling around, getting good value with his switches. He's got the Aerodactyl in against the Bliss. Rock Slide, however, is the wrong prediction. Double Edge there would have been the play, but obviously no way to know that beforehand. Zapdos seems difficult for PDC to remove, though. The bulky Zapdos, when neither guy has Sand, seems tough. I mean, obviously the CV Mence can threaten actual anything, but unfortunately for PDC, he does not make the right decision. He goes for Hidden Power as opposed to Rock Slide. Now he goes Hidden Power again, but there's nothing preventing Zapdos from waking and resting, which is exactly what he does. But now PDC is going to stay in and fish for a crit. Why not? Neither one caring about the sand. CB Mence in a no sand situation is a beautiful thing. He's not getting worn down and chipped away at all. He could just sit here and do this over and over and hope that he finds a crit. The CB Mence is enormously threatening for PDC. Hclat does not have a good switch into that. And on the flip side of that, the Zapdos seems like something that, other than the CB Mence, PDC basically can't kill. So we'll see how it plays out, but PDC with a clear advantage right now in a 5-4 situation. This one way grindier than the other two. It's already passed, I think, the total for the other two games combined, which is still not a high total. We're only at 54, but the other games were pretty quick. A lot of switching going on. Ice Punch there. Connects with Bliss. Paltry damage, but no freeze either is the relevant thing for now. There's a critical hit from PDC with Ice Beam. But Gengar, like everything else in this game, is bulky because... PDC tries to throw there. I don't know what that was. I like PDC's position a lot until that happened, and now I like it way, way less. He switches in Salamence, maybe getting cute, trying to anticipate a double, but instantly regrets it as Hclat catches him with Ice Punch. That's brutal. I thought PDC was winning, and now I'm not so sure. Now, granted, he does have the 4-3 advantage, but That meant, as long as he could keep it safe, looked impossible for Hclat to beat in the long term. Every single time it comes in on basically anything other than Ice Punch, it would be able to do huge damage to Hclat, but yeah, he walks it right into an Ice Punch, which is exactly what Hclat needed to happen. PDC, if he loses, it's going to be because of that turn, but can he clutch it out? He is still up 4-3, but this game just got way, way tighter than it was before, and the Zapdos is now a much bigger problem than it already was. Starmie, we've seen Thunderbolt Hydro Pump, so this does look like an off-star. Maybe that can clean up, but it's not going to beat the Zapdos one-on-one, obviously. Blissey here, obligatory soft-boiled. There's Roar, dragging out the Scarm. Zapdos just seems like a real nightmare in this matchup, in one of the rare instances in which neither player has opted to bring Sand. It's really making the Zapdos that much better. It would be still good, obviously, but not this level of good if there were Sand putting some kind of clock on it, making it not as bulky as it is. Starmie comes in, not going to chance it, obviously, and could have, as it turns out, could have gone for the Ice Beam there, but Hclat all over it with the Roar. They both do have spikes down, and if the Starmie does have spin at all, which it may or may not, it has not had an opportunity to get that off. Hclat has been just completely dominating the tempo of this game, even though he is on the scoreboard behind right now because of the Zapdos. Scarm goes for spikes. There's literally not a single Pokemon on the whole entire Hclat team that is vulnerable to spikes, so I don't really see the point of doing that. I don't know why you wouldn't just Roar, or even Drill Peck, or Toxic if you have it. I mean, actual anything is better than spikes. It just does nothing. There's not a single poke for Hclat. Even when he had all 6, there's not a single Mon that cares about the spikes. The whole entire team is immune. So finally, Hclat shows the other move. It's Hidden Power. Hitting Blissey with it doesn't tell us what Hidden Power it is. In this situation, he wants it to be Grass for the Swampert, but it could be Ice. Not clear what it is. Grass makes more sense to me. But there is the Hidden Power again. Wish and Roar, respectively. Now Flygon comes in, and he's going to protect to make sure he gets that Wish. Scarm back up to almost full health at 94%. But man, it really, really wishes it had Toxic in this matchup. That would be so much better than the Drill Peck set. But it is what it is. I mean, Scarm as a whole, not that exciting in this matchup. Does somewhat wall the Flygon and the Aerodactyl, so it does have a use as a wall. But it's not really an offensive threat, even with Drill Peck. And obviously the main reason you use Scarm is because of the spikes, which don't matter in this matchup. Whiffed Protect here from Scarm. Flygon comes back in. That's nursed its way back up to health with lefties. And PDC, critically, has continued to get out-predicted on key turns. He got his Salamence Ice Punched, and just now he got his Starmie Earthquaked. Both of which, I mean, you got to give Hclat credit for making the play, but I put it more on PDC making a mistake than I do on Hclat doing something amazing. It is a good prediction for Hclat, but a lot of the time, I mean, the Gengar one was a little riskier, but that previous one, I mean, there's no reason not to take the chance and click Earthquake there. You don't lose anything if you're wrong, so it was a high reward, low risk, a high upside risk for Hclat to take. But yeah, PDC has walked 2 of his Mons, and he's actually just going to concede here. He says in the comments, he says, okay, yeah, this was disappointing. I don't know what he's disappointed about. Perhaps disappointed in his own play, but this felt like a relatively clean game. I'm not sure. It didn't feel like he got hacked out. I'm not sure what there is to be disappointed about other than his own decision making, but they're just... This one was relatively clean. It didn't feel like this was a very hacksy game. It didn't feel like there was a huge luck turn that made all the difference here. It just kind of played out normally, pretty clean, and Hclat outplayed him on a couple key turns. The Ice Punch was huge, and the Earthquake was huge. The CB Ments, I think, would have won this game in the long to medium term had he just kept it alive, but took a major, major gamble switching it into Ice Punch, and Hclat made the play to capitalize on it. I think PDC would have won this matchup a lot of the time. I'm Not sold on this janky Psy-Wave mystery vest nonsense that Hclat brought, but it's going to be good enough today. He's going to get the 2-1 win and find himself in the upper bracket, and PDC going to start out in the lower bracket. As with all the videos, guys, if you've been enjoying CALLOUS Invitational 5 and if you enjoyed this set, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.